In this video, we're going to be looking at the new dashboards which are available in Innova Vantage. Now these dashboards replace the previous well list landing page that you can see at the moment. So I'm going to show you how to access the features that you're used to using in the well list within the dashboard along with any new features. So what we can see at the moment is our existing well list, and the kind of features that we would access would be from these four little squares or the pencil menu down the bottom right hand side. Now if we take a look at our new dashboard, we can see that the dashboard is available from exactly the same spot as the well list, and the dashboard is made up of 4 different tabs with 4 different dashboards. So this will form your landing page when you first log into Innova Vantage, and I'm going to go through each of these 4 dashboards one at a time, and we'll start with the wells dashboard. So the wells dashboard is effectively your replacement for the well list. So everything that you could do in the well list is available from the wells. So we can see that we've got our AG grid with all of our well data. This is basically laid out in exactly the same way as it was before. Same functionality in terms of being able to order it minimum to maximum or filter any of these particular columns. We can see we still have our map on the right hand side, and the map is dynamic, so anything that we filter within the grid updates on the map. We can hide the map or we can hide the grid. We have got our same search bar along the top, so anything that we type into the search bar along here will filter down on the bottom left hand side. And we have also added in some nice filter options here with these pinned. So within the pinned option, anything that you filter frequently, for example active wells or a particular rig that's of interest to you, you can come down here and you can say, for example, well status. So let's say that I frequently am filtering for upcoming wells. Well, I can pin that up here now, and instead of me having to go to any of the columns to do anything, I can just come along and I can say, right, well, I want to take a look at active wells. I want to see if there's any active wells for this particular rig, and that filters everything for me. Any filters that we do along the top at all will show an option in the top left hand side of the AG grid that allows us to clear all of the filters in one go, or if we've got multiple filters selected, if you're using the pinned options, you can remove just the pinned filters from here. On the right hand side, we've got a few options that we didn't have in here before. So this all is showing us all of the wells, of course. 7 days, 60 days and a year looks at the end date of any of these wells, and it will filter it accordingly. So this will only show you wells within the last 7 days, 60 days or a year. Any filters that you have within here have an effect on the operation and the performance tab. We'll talk about the rigs tab in a second. And down the bottom left hand side, we can see here that we've got 76 wells, 6 operators with 12 rigs, and we can see all the active standby. If we want to look at offset wells, we can select those as well, and that will change these options down here. And the offset wells are just wells that have a status of NA applied to them, so basically no daily reporting associated with them. As before, we've got our favourites. We can filter our favourites very quickly now from here. And the other thing that we can do here that we couldn't do before is we can select our favourites directly from here. So that's a pretty simple way to do it. And you see that by selecting that, it has starred everything related to the particular rig that we've selected. These other 2 options here, we'll talk about those because they're more relevant for the other tabs as we go through this. The import functionality that was available from the pencil menu down the bottom right hand side in here in the original wells list is available from here, so we can import your Compass EDM, drill plan and well architect files. And the option to add an instant well has also been included. There is more options and functionality in here than there was in the original well list menu. There's now the ability to also pull in EDR, BHA and phase details at the same time, but this is where you would find that option from within here. So we'll now go and we'll take a look at our rigs tab. So this is the rigs dashboard. Now this will show you all of your active rigs. So again, this has been designed to allow you to quickly and easily find active wells without having to do any searching for them. Now, what we'll notice in here is that we will only ever see one line for each rig, but sometimes, in some situations, it's usually because we've not changed our, it's usually because we've not properly changed our rig status, and we may be forgotten about it. We may have some rigs that have multiple active wells. Now in that scenario, what you'll see is a little orange circle down the bottom. So here, this is the active well in this rig, but there is also an additional well that is active that is associated with this rig as well. And in this case, we've got two. Now what happens in that scenario is the program sees that there are 3 active wells associated with this rig, and it will look at the one that has got the most recent end date and it will display it. The other 2 will be available here for you to see, and you can go and investigate those and potentially change the well status. Actually, I'll come back to the wells list because something else that I forgot to mention a moment ago is previously, functionality wise, from the wells list, you were also able to access things like well info, depth versus days, plan versus actual, depth acquisition, etc. So they're all available from these 3 little options on the left hand side. And if you want to dial into the particular well, you used to be able to click anywhere on the line. That doesn't work anymore. If you want to go in to find everything under the well view, you have to select this option here, the square with a little arrow. And that's all the functionality that was available previously. So if we come back to our rigs, this is all of our active rigs. So again, this is quick and easy for you to monitor this, whereabouts they are in the world. And this then brings us on to our operations dashboard. Now the operations dashboard will give you effectively a card for each of your active rigs. Now, whatever you've got displayed here, in whatever order you have in here, is how the cards will be displayed on this particular dashboard. So if you have any filters in place, these will filter them. So for example, if I wanted to look at just my favorites, if I click on this, we can see that we've got 2 rigs that are selected as favorites and everything else has been hidden. Over on the far right hand side, this is going to show us the number of cards per row, so I can have 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can select auto. I've got a slightly bigger screen, so in that case it's actually giving me 6. But if we just look at this at the moment let's look at it with 2 across the screen. Now again, we can still filter this based on our tabs, our little menu here. So we can take this pen and we can clear that filter again. We can filter it based on the favorites. If there is a particular BHA in the whole, we can filter it. And if you are actively receiving widths, we can also filter that in here as well. So again, it's quick and easy to find what you're looking for. We can also group our cards together. So at the moment, I mentioned the default where there is no grouping would be whatever order you have the rigs set up in here. But if we wanted to, we can group this together by operator, for example. So now we've got black and gold here. Let's scroll down, Caledonian, and then Innova Natural Resources. There are a few under there. So again, lots of different ways for you to have this, because there could be 30 or 40 active rigs running for your company. In that case, you can filter this down to see the ones that you want in the order that you want. Make it nice and easy for you to find the data that you need. So let's talk about the cards in a little bit more detail now. So if I just filter this for the favorites, so what we have here is, we'll take a look at the top section. So this is going to tell you your rig. It's going to tell you the name of the well, the operator, the job, the county, and when it was last updated. So this is telling us when data was last updated on the server for this particular job. So if you've got an active well and you can see that the data hasn't been updated for 2 days, you might need to contact the rig to find out if they've got a problem with connectivity. Down here we can see distance to TD. So this takes our most recent survey and it looks at the principal plan, what the TD of the principal plan is, and it shows us how far away we are to go. On the top right hand side we have got, if there's a BHA in the hole, it will say the BHA, it will tell us the phase. If we are receiving WITS data, the hole depth and the bit depth will populate up here and will update live. If we're not receiving WITS data, this will come from the daily reports. And again, if we're receiving WITS data, it will tell us what the particular rig state is. So in this case, we are receiving WITS data, it's sliding. Over here, there's no WITS data being received, and you can see there's no BHA in the hole either. Now down below the distance to TD section, we have got some tabs. Now these tabs, we can click through these tabs independently on each of our cards, or up the top, we have got an option that we can globally change everything just by clicking on here. So this is a nice quick way for you to change everything that's in front of you, or if you want to just change one, we can do that here. So we'll start with the summary tab. So within the summary tab, we have got our depth versus days. Now, the depth versus days is populating from your daily reporting, and we've got some depth versus days options up the top. So we can display our BHAs, which we can see down the bottom, or we can click on the hole, which will display the hole size. And if we want to display phases or not display phases, we can select that from here as well. Down the bottom, the next section below the depth versus days, we've got an anti-collision overview. So this is going to give you your last survey, and then it's going to give you your centre to centre distance against your principal plan. It will give you the closest distance to any lease line in here, and then it will give you a line in here for the closest centre to centre distance, the well that gives you the closest centre to centre distance as an offset, and the same for a separation factor. In this case, it's the same well, but you may find that there are two lines in here, one for a well that's giving you the closest centre to centre, and the other one separation factor. Now this is just an overview. We do have an anti-collision tab that gives you much more detail than that. We'll talk about that in a moment. 24-hour summary and 24-hour look ahead, these come directly from the daily reports. And then down the bottom here, if we are receiving WITS data, then we will have our gauges. Now we can see on this one here, there's no WITS data coming in. This one has got WITS data coming in, which is therefore giving us the rig state, and it's telling us when the WITS was last updated. If you hover over any of these, you can see that it will tell you what the range is and what the default max is now, or what the maximum value is being used is. So here we can see that we've got this little red section here. If there is nothing filled in the BHA for these values, then we will use defaults. But if, for example, in the BHA that you have got referenced, you have a value for the differential pressure, the maximum differential pressure for a motor, then it will utilize that within here. It's the same for the torque and the flow and pressures. Anywhere where there's a limitation for a particular component being entered, the program will automatically pull that from there and it will display it. Down the very bottom, we have got some quick links. So there's nothing within here, with one exception, that is editable. So everything in here is just for reference. But if you want to be able to go to a BHA, for example, or you want to go to the ADR screen, or you want to go to the dailies, to be able to look in more detail, in depth, you can click on here and it will take you directly there, instead of having to go back to the wells section, select the well, and then go down. So it's very quick and easy to then access the areas that you need to for any particular well. So if we now move on to the statistics, the statistics is pretty straightforward. This is going to show you hours, NPT, ROP, and footage for the last 24 hours, current phase, last BHA, and the well. And then down the bottom here, we have got some cost data if you are tracking your costs. For the AC tab, this is now giving you more in-depth anti-collision. So here we can see that it's got all of the offsets, not just the ones that we're flagging up as the closest in the summary tab. It gives us a tool face rows. This doesn't just show us the tool faces, but it also shows us where the offset wells are as well. So we can see, because we're sliding, we are receiving tool faces, and these will be displayed on here. If we weren't sliding, there would be, of course, no tool faces. Up the top, we've got an AC scale, so we can click 50. You can see that it changes, 100 or 500, depending on what you're looking for. And we've also got display labels, which will show you the wells for that these little red dots represent. So we can see that we are to the left and in line or slightly above some of these offset wells here. If our phase is a curve, then it will normally, if the phase is not a curve, we're just going to see the last survey, and it will tell us what the well plan is and what the closest offset is. But if we're in the curve, we'll also have this little landing section here that shows us TVD, inclination azimuth, and dogleg, and we can edit these values to see the dogleg required to land. If we go to the BHAs, this will show us some motor data. So this comes directly from your motor within the BHA. We've got our sensor offsets, bit data, and then we've got the BHA. So again, this is for reference. If you want to edit any of this information or look at it in more detail or more depth, you can just come down here and you can select the BHA section down here. Surveys, this will give us the last 10 surveys that have been taken. And we've also got some information down the bottom. We've got these three little line graphs that show us our azimuth, inclination, and our dogleg and motor yield, if we've got that information in here based on these last 10 surveys, so we can look for our trends. Incidents, if there are any incidents for a particular BHA within a particular well, they will show here. So in this case, this particular well has, for BHA3, there was a catastrophic incident. This gives you the comments and the troubleshooting related to that at a glance without having to go into too much detail. If you then have to troubleshoot some more, find some more information, you can then go directly to the BHA section itself. BHA stats, this looks at the BHAs that have been run, and it just gives you that quick general overview of how much sliding and rotation, depth in, depth out, etc., ROPs. So just another quick, at a glance, what's going on with my BHAs that I've had. And then the last tab that we've got in here is our EDR tab. So if you have got live WITS data coming in, this is constantly going to be updating for you. If you don't have live data but you've got historical data, then like the EDR page itself, you can come along here and you can move this up and down to where it needs to be. If you move this up and down, what happens is we stop auto scrolling, but we've got a little button in here that says auto scroll, and if I click this, you can see it pushes the window back down to the bottom and it turns green, and as the WITS data is coming in now, it will continue to update in here for us as we're looking through this. Another thing, or the last thing to point out in here, is that we can also have access to our alerts. So we have an alert system in place that will send out alert emails if there are any issues. So we can set up minimum and maximum values for different parameters. And if any of those flag, emails will be sent out, but it can also pop up here as alerts that will show you the severity, the type of alert, the minimum maximum threshold, the depth, and the particular value. So anything within these thresholds will flag, and you can see here we're flagging at a particular depth for the dogleg severity. So again, this will be red box around about us, and it will also have this little red symbol to flag. And as a user, you can come in here and very quickly see if there's any issues that you need to take a look at more detail at. So the last dashboard that we'll look at now is the performance dashboard. So the performance dashboard is effectively giving you the same as your data insights. It's a lot of the same functionality that we have within the data insights, but this is very specifically for your active rigs that you've got selected. So you can come in here and quickly compare information across your active rigs, and certainly even at that, the ones that you have filtered down. You can do exactly the same thing by coming to the data insights, but here you're just clicking a button for the data set that you've already got. So again, if I just unfilter this a little bit so that it's not just the favorites, this will show us, for example, on the right hand side here, we can select the cards that we want to select. So we can have up to 8 of these displaying at any one time. These are very customizable, so we can grab them, drag them, make them as big or small as we want to, and it will stay the same way every time that we open it. We can save these as templates so that we can switch between templates to get everything that we need to. You initially select the KPIs that you want to show in here, but once you've done that, within any KPI itself, there is a little drop down here that allows you to then switch between the KPIs very quickly and easily. So you can see that this now allows you to get some KPIs for all your active wells to allow you to, at a glance, keep an eye on everything that's going on.